question. Yes, in the garden P, tall is dominant to short and red flower is dominant to white. Okay, so these genes assort independently. Pure breeding tall red plants are crossed with. Okay, so I think I need to put this question on a slide, then I can discuss. So, what is your approach? Can you tell? How will
Sir,
you
so
solve?
in this, sir, F1 will be capital T, small t, capital R, small r. And if we cross, so if we do self of F1, then we will get basically 1 is to 4. 4 out of 16 will be same genotype as S1. So 1 by 4.
So, like you have solved this question using Punnett square or by any other approach?
Yes, Punnett square,
Punnett.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So Punnett square is going to take time. Let's see what is the question. Tall is dominant to short. That means this is the situation you have. These are your alleles. Okay. Assort independently. That means we can apply the Mendel's laws. Now we are moving to third statement. Pure breeding tall red plants. They are crossed with pure breeding short white plant. Then definitely you are going to have this is your F1 generation. They are crossed with each other. Okay, so now basically this is the question that, and you are going to get F2 from here. You have to tell what proportion of F2 plants have the same genotype as the F1 plant, right? So one approach is your Punnett square, which is going to take time. So what we can do in the F2 generation, what we want this. So simply we can calculate what is the probability of getting this
The half into
from
half.
this cross, right?
Half into.
So yes, so half into half, that is going to be 1/4. No need of going to Punnett square.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's go to the next question. Here also, let me put all these questions in slides. That will be better. So fifth, sixth, and seventh. That's it. I will have some more slides here. Then it will be easy for me.
Sir, excuse me.
Yes.
Sir, I have a doubt in the first question.
First question.
Yes, sir. Sir, the last two parts of the first question,
Okay.
you said that the answer is damp monophosphate, deoxyadenosine monophosphate.
Deoxyadenosine monophosphate. Yes.
Sir, instead of that, if I've written deoxyadenylate, is it fine?
Yeah, that is the alternative. Like both names are mentioned in the slide. Only thing
Yes,
is
sir.
it is not very famous. Like what I told, that is very famous. Some
Okay, sir.
names are
Sir, so
commonly
means
used.
you'll give marks now if I've written that.
Yes, yes, both are correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, so let me share this slide again. Here we can discuss the questions. Okay. This is, I think, very straightforward question. You people should be able to tell me what should I do.
Sir, capital A cross capital A for that you have to find the probability of getting capital A small a into capital A small a. We want to find the probability of capital A capital A
Okay.
and plus capital A small a.
Okay. So
Sir,
basically here, simply you can do the Punnett square. So this is going to be the case,
3 out of 4.
right? So similarly,
So
you
3
can do the calculation here, 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 and just do the multiplication. you will get the answer, right? Any doubt here?
No, sir. Sir, I got 9 by 32. So that I wanted to check.
Okay, so let me, if you are just interested in answers, let me know. I can tell you the answers also.
Oh, sir, that we will do later then, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, if you have
Yes.
if you have doubt, then we can discuss. Like if you felt any difficulty in any question, we can
Sir,
discuss.
actually 6th and 7th, I felt.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Could you discuss the sixth question? That is my only major doubt.
okay, so let's go ahead. Just a minute. So let's go to the sixth question. So here it is an recessive trait, basically. Metabolic disorder that is inherited as an autosomal recessive trait, a husband and wife, both heterozygous for this gene. Okay, so let's say that we can write simply they are heterozygous. That means this is the situation. If I represent the allele by A, okay, so possible outcome here, it will be like this. And we know that it is a recessive trait. So that means only this offspring is going to be the only this offspring is going to have the disease, because we know that it is the recessive trait. So now they are planning to have 6 children. Okay, so n here, that is 6. And what is the probability that 4 of the offspring will be normal? Okay, so here the x value is given 4. What is the corresponding to x, the probability?
So 3 by 4.
Yes, 3 by 4. And your q value will be 1 minus 3 by 4. That means 1 by 4. So now everything you have in your formula. Your
Yes,
formula
sir. So
was
this is
capital P.
unordered, right? Binomial
Yes,
input.
unordered. Yes. Factorial
Yes.
n divided by this, and here like this, then p to the power x and q to the power n minus x. That's it,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yes, sir. Sir, and 7th one also, sir, I got 1 by 400
Yes,
in
1 by
this.
400. Yes, that is correct answer. 1 by 400.
Okay, sir.
Somehow I remember. Yeah, somehow I remember this answer. Okay. Any other doubt with respect to your quiz one?
No, sir.
Okay. So basically, like it is very clear from, like, you have seen how much time I am taking to solve these problems. If you are thorough in concepts, per problem it is going to take maximum 3 minutes, not more than that. That is also I'm telling, like, towards the high end, like maximum, right? So with respect to time, number of questions, I think everything was fine. I have not gone through your sheets. I didn't get time. I will try to uh, figure out some time. Okay, let's go ahead with the today's lecture. I have some more problems here with respect to the probability. Okay.
Sir,
So
can you discuss the seventh one also?
yes, it is the here. Okay, let's go ahead. So here we are saying heterozygotes, carrier for an autosomal disorders, occurs in a population with a frequency of 1 in 10. That is the probability of a person to be heterozygotes. But they are the carriers, they are not the diseased one. Okay, so if two phenotypically normal people from this population marry, what is the probability that their first child will have this disorder? Okay, so here basically, if two phenotypically normal people, that means here also situation will be the same. You can say something like this. This is the Punnett square. Okay, That means when we are saying the two phenotypically normal people from this population marry, what is the probability that their first children will have this disorder? That means it is obvious from the language here that they are heterozygotes. So what? So here thing is like father is there, mother is there, then there is going to be a baby. What is the probability of this father that he is the heterozygotes? 1 by 10. It is given. What is the probability of the mother having to be the heterozygotes? Again, 1 by 10. Now, what is the probability of this baby to have this disorder?
1/4.
1 by 4. 1 by 400.
And it is not possible if one of the parents is not heterozygous. If it, both should be heterozygous, only then it is possible.
Yeah, like it is mentioned here, two phenotypically normal people, right?
Yes,
It
sir.
is mentioned here. So if you consider one normal, if you consider one normal, then what is going to be the case? But from the language of the question, it's very clear that both are heterozygotes. We cannot consider here normal. So we should not go into that direction. Any doubt here in this question?
No, sir.
Okay. So let's go ahead now with some this. So these are some of the questions which are asked in GATE exam. GATE exam, which is conducted for biotechnology. Maybe you people can go through. That will be a good practice. And let me know your answers.
Sir, 5/16, first one.
So can you tell me in decimal?
Oh, yes, sir. 31%.
Yes, 0.31. Right answer.
Second one, 3/8.
Second one, 3 by 8. Yes, right answer.
Sir, I think half for sons and daughters, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Yes, this is the right answer. Let's discuss this concept here. Whenever you have the X-linked disorder or Y-linked disorder, what do you mean by the word here? When we say
Sir,
X-linked or Y-linked?
Sir, this is the gender deciding
Chromosome.
if XX then female, then XY, then male.
Okay. So basically, idea here is we have two types of chromosome in our body. They are called autosomes and sex chromosomes. Okay, total 46. They are in pairs, so 23 pairs we have. Okay, so 22 pairs they are called autosomes. 22 pairs, and so now we have total 22 into 2, that is will be 44. Now rest two are sex chromosomes. X or Y, they are going to determine the gender because they have the genes which are important for male and female development. So basically, this is the idea. If there is a combination of X and Y, it is going to be a boy. If there is a combination of 2X, then it is going to be a girl. Whenever we have a problem with respect to the X linked or Y linked, so simply the approach is going to be very simple. Let's discuss that. You can make the Punnett square for X and Y chromosome. So here, if we go through the question, this particular disorder is manifested by an X-linked dominant allele. Okay, what proportion of the offsprings from a normal male? If I have to write a normal male, I will write like this: X and Y, both are normal. I will write NN. Okay, normal male and an affected heterozygous female. Affected heterozygous female, that means there is a mutation on one chromosome and the second one is normal. That is the meaning of heterozygous. So now if you do the Punnett square, here it should be XM XN, here XN, here it is going to be XM YN, and here XN YN. So these are the possible genotypes of the offspring. Now, if you see here, can you tell me, like, this is the first one, this is the second, this is the third one, and this is the fourth one. First one is going to be a girl, and it will be affected or not?
Yes, sir, affected.
Yes, because one chromosome is having the mutation, and it is the X-linked dominant. That means if one gene, one allele itself is mutated, the disease is going to be there. So diseased. Okay, second girl,
Normal.
XN, normal. That means half of the girls are going to be affected. Half of the daughters are going to be affected. Okay, let's see in case of sons. Third person,
Affected.
XMYN. Yes, it is going to be affected. First of all, in the boy, we have only one X chromosome, and that itself is mutated. So definitely diseased. Fourth one, X and YN, normal. So half of the boy and half of the sons and half of the daughter, they are going to manifest the disease. So whenever you see any problem with respect to X-linked and Y-linked uh, condition, you can do the Punnett square in this way, and you will get your answer. Any doubt in these three questions? Okay, so now let's move to the, okay, we have some more questions. I was thinking that we are going to start a new topic. Which option is correct here?
Sir, option A.
Option A, yes, that is the answer here. Okay, let's, I think this is the last question. Then you can try, then we will move to the our new topic.
Sir, 1/32.
1/32. Okay, let me check. Yes, answer is C. Very good. Okay, so now we know how to calculate the probability in different situations, when to use product rule, when to use addition rule, when to use binomial. So this topic is over. We are moving to our new topic. Let me share the screen again. So broad topic is same. This was the topic, statistical methods to analyze the genetic inheritance. In this series, the first topic was the probability, and the second method is something called chi-square test. How many of you have taken the any statistics course? Can you raise your hands? You must have heard this particular technique, chi-square test. Okay, I can see one hand. Two. So, are you familiar with this chi-square test? Okay. Okay, I can see hand from only one student. Okay, so chi-square test, let's understand what it is going to tell us. One of the very fundamental problem in genetics is whenever there is a genetic cross and we are going to get the progeny. Okay, we will see what are the genotypes, what are the phenotypes of the progeny. Then based on the genotypic and phenotypic data, we should be able to tell whether here the inheritance of the genes, it is following the law of genetics or not. Mendel's laws, let's say here. Okay, so one example is cited on the slide, that you do a cross and see that there are 290 purple flowers and 110 white flowers in the offspring. So this ratio, if you see, this is very or pretty close to 3:1 ratio, which we are getting in the when Mendel actually did the genetic cross. It is the phenotypic ratio in a monohybrid cross 3:1. So here now the question is whether this particular cross, which is cited here as an example, whether this particular cross is following the Mendel's laws or not. Somebody can say that it looks pretty close to 3:1. But how do you define formally? How do you define formally that pretty close? That means whether really this 3:1 or this pretty close ratio is statistical significant or not. That is the idea. So basically, we want to test the outcome of a genetic cross, whether it is following the laws of genetics or not. That is the outcome of chi-square test. And whenever, like the people who are working in the area of genetics, whenever they perform a genetic cross, it is a mandatory test which has to be done on to confirm, yes, it is following the Mendel's laws or not. So Mendel was having no way to solve this problem, and shortly after the rediscovery of his work in 1900, these are the two people, Carl Pearson and R.A. Fisher, who developed the chi-square test for this purpose. Another name which is given to this test, it is called goodness of fit test. Okay, because here we are going to get the quantitative data, so that's why this test is developed to test the hypothesis basically. So here we are going to make our null hypothesis that there is no significant difference between the observed value, okay, what you have actually in your question, and the expected frequency. Okay, there are two terms, observed and expected. And here it is mentioned P is less than 0.05. What do you mean by P less than 0.05? It basically, this value is determined based on the confidence interval. What do you mean by confidence interval? It will tell you how much like data fits into your statistical limit. Mainly in biological science, this is the limit. Most of the people use 95% confidence interval. That means 95% chances are there that whatever you are observing, that is correct. Only 5% chances are there for this to be wrong. So that is the meaning of p value is equal to 0.05. So here your null hypothesis is accepted when your p value is less than 0.05. That means there is no significant difference between the observed and expected frequency. You can say that yes, it is following the Mendel's monohybrid cross or Mendel's dihybrid cross. Now the question is how to calculate the chi-square value. Okay, how to calculate the chi-square value? This is the formula. We are going to solve some of the problems. So you can note down this formula that chi-square is equal to, it is going to be the sum of the observed minus expected square of that divided by the expected value. Did you note down the formula?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically whenever you see a problem with respect to chi-squared test or goodness of fit test, you should make a table. In a column you should write observed value, in the second column you should write expected value, then in the third column you should write observed minus expected square, and then in the last column you should calculate this value. Then you will do the sum of all those values, and that is going to be the chi-square value. So here if you see, if your observed value is very close to the expected value, the chi-square value is going to be very, very low. In that case, your null hypothesis is going to be expected, which you are going to see in the examples. And if the data is very different than the expected, then the chi-square value is going to be high. Okay, so this is one thing which like you should know. Second thing is you should know the second term here, which is called degree of freedom. Degree of freedom is simply the number of classes of offspring minus 1. So let's say monohybrid cross. In case of monohybrid cross, what is going to be the degree of freedom?
Sir, 2.
So like if you remember the monohybrid cross, phenotypic ratio is 3:1. That means
Yes,
there are only two classes of offspring. Some offspring, they comes under the category, that's why you have the number 3. Then second, like 1, 3:1. That means only two classes are there of offspring. We have only two types. That means 2 minus 1. So degree of freedom is 1. Okay, which is mentioned here. What is going to be the degree of freedom in a dihybrid cross?
sir, 3.
Yes, 3. We have the ratio which is 9:3:3 3:1. So we have four numbers here. 4 minus 1. So it is 3. And what we are going to do, we are going to provide you a table. Based on that table, you should be able to tell whether your null hypothesis is correct or not. And the picture will be much clearer if we go through one question. Okay, so these are the steps which you have to follow. Whenever you see a question of chi-square test, first make a null hypothesis, write down the formula for chi-square and calculate the chi-square value, determine what is your degree of freedom, and the last step, if your calculated chi-square value is less than the critical value.
Sir,
Yes.
Sir, can you explain once again how do we calculate the degree of freedom?
Yes, degree of freedom is basically the simply the number of classes of offspring minus 1. Okay, so if you remember your monohybrid cross, the phenotypic ratio was 3:1. That means there are two category of plants, right? So 2 minus 1, degree of freedom is 1. In case of dihybrid cross, the ratio was 9:3:3:1. That means four categories were there, four classes of offspring were there. So 4 minus 1, degree of freedom is going to be 3. Is it clear now?
All right, sir.
Okay. Okay, so last step is the calculated chi-square value should be less than the critical value or the table value. Table will be provided. Based on the table, you are going to get one value. So your chi-square value should be less than that. Then you are going to accept the null hypothesis. That means whatever the difference you are seeing in the observed and the expected data, that is just due to by chance. Okay, but if the chi-square value is more than the critical value, then you have to reject the null hypothesis. That means difference is significant. Difference is not just due to chance. It is significant difference between both. It is not following the law of genetics. Okay, you can note down the last point also. Chi-square less than critical value and chi-square more than the critical value. What you are going to do in these two cases. Okay, so let's start with a one question of a monohybrid cross. Chi-square test, remember one thing here, we are discussing only the problems with respect to Mendel's laws. But chi-square test is applicable to Mendelian genetics as well as non-Mendelian genetics. Whenever you do a cross, you will get the genotypes, phenotypes, and you have to do the chi-square test, whether it is following the Mendelian genetics or non-Mendelian genetics. Okay, let's go through this question that in a monohybrid cross, you count F2 offspring and you count 290 purple and 110 white flower. The same example which I have cited on my first slide. 290 purple and 110 white flowers. So total 400. So now, if you make a table, these are the O values, observed values, right? Can you tell me what is going to be the expected value here?
300 for purple, 100 for white.
300 and
100.
okay. So now, can you calculate the chi-square value?
1.33.
1.33. Okay. Everybody is on the same page.
Sir, can you show us how did we calculate it?
Yes. So here, what you have to do, make a table. Observed, expected, and O minus E square. So that is the main thing. Like here, rest of the calculation which you can do. So here, observed values are shown on the slide that you have 290 and 110. How to calculate the expected value? Now, this is the point where I told that you should remember the ratios, phenotypic ratios. In the monohybrid cross, the ratio was 3:1. So that means if you have total 400 plants, 3 by 4 into 400, that should be purple. Are you able to follow? Total is 400 and the ratio is 3:1. That means 3 by 4 of 400, it should be the purple. So 300 here. And here it is going to be 100. So now you can calculate O minus E. Minus 10 square here, 10 square. Rest is the formula you can apply. You have the everything. You have everything here, right? Any doubt here in the application of chi-square test? how we are calculating the expected values. Okay, so somebody has already calculated here that it is going to be 1.33. Degree of freedom, we know it is going to be 2 minus 1, it is 1. So now this is the chi-square table which will be provided to you in the exam also. So what you have to see, degree of freedom is 1, and we have to check the probability where you have the 0.05. Corresponding to 0.05 and degree of freedom 1, you have the critical value which is 3.84. What is your value? 1.33. So 1.33 is less than 3.84. What you are going to do? You are going to accept the null hypothesis, or you are going to...
Sir, so it is greater than a confidence interval, so we will reject the null hypothesis.
No, like here this is the critical value of chi-square. Okay, the probability
Oh,
corresponding
yes, sir.
to this probability, the chi-square value here is 3.84. Okay, in your problem you are getting the chi-square value 1.33. Okay, so if we go to this, when the chi-square value, calculated chi-square value is less than the table value, then accept the null hypothesis. So here it is 1.33. It is less than the your critical value which is mentioned in the table. So what should we do? Accept the null hypothesis or reject the null hypothesis?
Sir, accept.
Okay, so it's very simple here that we have to accept the null hypothesis. The chi-square value which we calculated, it is less than the critical value mentioned in the table. So we are failed to reject the null hypothesis. That means we are accepting the null hypothesis. That means, yes, this genetic cross is following the Mendel's monohybrid cross. Okay, so
Sir,
yes,
sir, how do we find the critical value from the table?
yes. So let's go one more time. Remember, the p-value is 0.05. Here multiple values are mentioned, so we have to see in the column where you have the probability value 0.05. Okay. We have discussed what do you mean by this 0.05 here, and in the problem which we just discussed, here your degree of freedom is 1. Corresponding to 1 degree of freedom, what is the value under this 0.05? It is 3.84, right? So your
Sir,
1.33.
why we are taking 0.05?
Okay, let's go to the here. 0.05 means there are only 5% chance of being wrong. That is calculated based on the confidence interval. In biological science, most of the time people use 95% confidence interval. That means 95% chances are there to be correct. That means only 5% chances are there to be wrong. That is the value. That is the meaning. That is a standard standard value which is accepted throughout the scientific community. There is no actual logic, but it is the standard value which is whenever you have the data, you have to follow this thing. We cannot define, we cannot have a separate confidence interval. This is the, like I can say, the international thing where all the researchers, they follow this nomenclature or this rule that we have to maintain the confidence interval 95%.
So, sir, the critical value will always be under the 0.05, right now?
Yes, yes. So here
Okay.
in this table, yes, so you have to always look under the 0.05 corresponding to your degree of freedom. So here, this is the explanation of the question which we have discussed. We are moving to the next problem now. You people should be able to tell what is the chi-square value, and then we will go to table again. We will check whether the chi-square value is less than the critical value or not. Anybody's done?
Sir, I'm doing, sir.
Okay, no issue. Take your time.
Sir, 0.46.
0.46. Okay. Yes, your answer is right. So here is the calculation, and final is 0.46 or 0.47. So what is the degree of freedom here?
Sir, 3.
3. Okay. So corresponding to that, if we go to our table, okay, so degree of freedom is 3, and here corresponding to probability 0.05, the value is 7.82. So what should we do? We should accept the null hypothesis or we should reject?
Accept. Sir,
Okay.
accept.
Yes. So we accept the null hypothesis. We can say, yes, this dihybrid cross is actually following the Mendelian genetics. Okay. So that is the outcome. Here, one more problem is there with respect to the monohybrid cross, which you people can do. So here, this is an interesting question that color blindness is a sex-linked trait in wombats. A female who is carrier of the colorblind allele mates with a male who is colorblind. The phenotypes of their offspring are these. Does this data fit to the predicted phenotypic ratio? How will you solve this problem? Like, how will you calculate the observed values are given, right? How will you calculate the expected value here?
Sir, one question. Sir, is color blindness on X chromosome or Y chromosome? Okay, no, sir, sorry.
So you can here it is you can take when it is just mentioned sex linked trait, that means X linked.
So what we can do is, sir, we can add all colorblind, and then we can add all non-colorblind, all normal.
Mm-hmm.
The sum, whatever the total sum is there,
Mm-hmm.
50-50 chance is there that they will be colorblind, and 50-50 chance is there that they will not be colorblind. And so what we have to do is only we have to check if they are basically colorblind or not.
Okay. So, like, how will you calculate here the expected value? Observed value is given.
Yes, sir. So the normal female plus normal male, so that is 132 plus 126. We will do that. We will get 258.
Mm-hmm.
So 258 is the normal, and colorblind is 124 plus 136. So that is 260. And then now we will add both of these to check the total number.
Okay.
And then when we get the total number, so expected should be half of the total number.
Okay. So corresponding to 132, can you tell me like what is your expected value?
So not corresponding to 132, sir. It will be corresponding to normal.
Yeah,
Male.
but if you check your chi-square formula, like here you have the four observed values, right? So corresponding to each observed value, you should have one expected value.
Sir, but we can also bind to observe value to reduce the number of classes. Over here, we are
So
having df is equal to 3, but we can do the same in df is equal to 1. That is what I'm saying.
yeah, I don't think that approach is going to be applicable to all the problems. Like your question or your final answer is going to vary if you apply this approach. Basically, like first, what do you need here to calculate the expected value? You need a particular ratio. Like we have
Thus,
used
we
3
can
to
do
1.
1:4. Sir, we can do then 1:4 for all.
So that is the ratio of 1:1:1:1:1, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So how you are going to get that ratio here? If you can do the Punnett square here, if you do the Punnett square for this cross, you are going to get that particular ratio, which is 1:1:1:1. And that is the message which I want to give here, that suppose you encounter this kind of problem where it is not monohybrid or dihybrid cross, it is different type of cross here. So simply do a Punnett square and you will get what is the phenotypic ratio. So here if you see the female who is carrier of the colorblind allele, so what should I write for the female? So she is the carrier,
Sir, XCX we can write.
or like I generally follow MNN. That means one chromosome is mutated, second one is normal, and she mates with a male who is colorblind. That
XM.
means XMY. So XM, here XMXN, here you have XMY, here it is XNY. So now if you see the normal female, do we have the normal female here? Yes,
Yes, sir.
right. And then we have the colorblind. Okay, so there are four different categories. So here the ratio is going to be 1:1:1:1, right? So now expected value corresponding to 132, it is going to be 1/4 into what is the total here? Can you do the total?
518.
Okay, so 518, and that is going to be the expected value for all, because the ratio is same, 1:1:1:1. So that value is going to be the expected value for here, for 124, for 126, for 136. And now simply you can use the formula. Okay. Any doubt here? So the message is very clear. Whenever you have this kind of problem where you do not see any monohybrid cross or dihybrid cross, do the Punnett square, get the phenotypic ratio, and apply that phenotypic ratio to solve the chi-square problem. Okay, I will stop here. And
Sir, in a
yes,
previous question, sir, like we took that disease is dominant, sir, over here, we will always assume that if it is not given, then we will assume that it is recessive.
no, you cannot. So one thing is, don't assume anything from your side. Here, like we didn't assume anything from our side in this problem. Or so far, whatever problem we have discussed, in any question, like the information is provided, or based on the language of the problem, we were able to determine whether it is dominant or recessive. Sometimes it is hidden in the problem. It is
Yeah, so
not
over here,
written directly,
given
right?
a carrier of colorblind and not that she is colorblind, that is why we are assuming.
Yeah. So whenever we see the carrier word, carrier means heterozygous. Okay, that is a standard definition in genetics. In general language, it is confusing. When we say carrier of a disease, okay, in a normal language, if we say carrier of for a disease, that means the person is having disease, right? But actually, in terms of genetics, carrier people are normal. Only thing is they are heterozygous. Carrier people are not the diseased one. Okay,
Yes, sir, got
that
it.
is the, yeah, yes, that is the technical language.
Hmm.
Okay, so I will stop here, then we will continue our discussion. If you have any doubt, you can ask.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
So I have a small request.
yes.
Can you please create some sort of a tutorial sheet or a practice sheet so that we have more variety of questions and we have a better idea of the type of questions that we'll be facing in the quizzes and the semester exams as well?
Okay, I can give you a set of, but definitely the questions which is going to be asked in the quiz or in the exam, those are going to be different. But definitely, yes, I can give the questions for practice. I can give that.
Yes, sir. Because like the
Okay,
quiz that we just had yesterday, I felt that if
okay,
the practice questions would have been a little more in quantity, I think it would have
okay,
been a little different for us.
okay. Yes, yes, that is accepted. I understand that. So okay, so no worry, I will provide more questions. Okay, so you can go through, and if you face any difficulty, you are most welcome to discuss.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
okay, welcome. Anything else, guys?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can you explain previous question once again?
Previous question one more time. The last one, colorblind one, right?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay. Yes, why not? So here you are seeing, let us, so here basically to calculate the expected value, we need a ratio. So how to get that ratio? The answer is Punnett square. So let's see how to make the Punnett square here. Here it is mentioned that color blindness is a sex-linked trait in wombats. Whenever we say sex-linked, that means it is basically X-linked. Otherwise, it is clearly mentioned that it is Y-linked. It is not mentioned it is Y-linked. That means here you can assume that that is the language of the genetics. Sex-linked means it is X-linked trait in wombats. The female who is carrier of the color blind allele. Okay, so females are having two X chromosomes. She is the carrier of the color blind allele. That means one chromosome is having the mutated allele and second one is normal. Now for the male, I can write XY. Male is color blind. That means the only X chromosome is there, that itself is mutated because there is no second X chromosome. So definitely this person is going to be color blind now. So now if you write their genotype, it is going to be XMXM, XMXN. Here it is going to be XMY. Here it is going to be XNY. So now if you see the phenotypes corresponding to these genotypes, you will get the ratio of 1:1:1:1. XM, XM occurring only once, right? That means the female is going to be colorblind. That is one category. Here it is written colorblind. The second one is X, M, and N. She is going to be a carrier. That means she is going to be basically a normal female. X, M, Y, the colorblind male. Next category. Okay, X and Y, that means normal male. Okay, so these genotypes are repeating only once. That means the ratio here is 1:1:1:1, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, so we can continue our discussion. If you have any other doubt, let's end the session for today. Okay, see you people tomorrow. Bye, take care.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome.